Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Nicole and this video is about the 10 best purchases I made in my 20s. If you're new here and like these type of videos, please like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. So I saw on YouTube like a few months ago / a year ago that people were doing these best purchases and worst purchases I made in my 20s. So I thought I want to do my own. Personal finance is an interest of mine, and like many young adults, I have made good and bad choices in terms of what I spend my money on. But I feel like since we're trying to be positive here amongst the chaotic dystopian like world we live in, I will make a positive video on the best purchases I made in my 20s. And just for reference, I am not a full-time content creator, so this is coming from someone that just works your average 9-to-5 job. And these are the things that I purchased in my 20s that I think were worthwhile and definitely worth the money. So if you do like these type of videos, you should definitely let me know in the comments, and also hit that like button and subscribe button so I know that, oh, you guys like these type of videos and I should make more of them. So the first item that is going to be on my best purchases in my 20s is going to be a little bit typical and a little bit obvious since this is probably going to be featured in other videos, but it has to be said. It is my Macbook Pro. Now this is the 2020 version, so you're probably like, but Nicole, how can you say this is your best purchase when you just got it last year? Well, prior to this, I was using a 2009 MacBook Pro, and I literally stopped using it when I got this one. So I had that laptop for around, I guess you could say, 11 years. I did swap out the internals because back then the MacBooks you could switch out the hard drive and the RAM, so that's what I did. I upgraded my RAM and I upgraded my hard drive to a solid state. So my laptop was going pretty well, but I was limited in terms of things I could do on it. Like for example, I wouldn't be able to edit YouTube videos on it because it would be too slow and my laptop would overheat and crap out. So that's why I upgraded to a 2020, which I would say is definitely worth the money. But in general, I would say you should definitely invest in your technology, especially things like a laptop, regardless if you're in college or not, because a laptop can be used for many things, not just scrolling through Facebook or watching videos on YouTube, but you can also use it to read, learn, pick up new skills, and also game. So to me, a laptop is pretty quintessential everyday item that I would definitely recommend splurging on if you're able to buy the one that you want. If you don't want a laptop, I would say a battle station, like a nice PC setup or iMac desktop setup, would easily be worth the money in your 20s. The second best thing that I purchased in my 20s was all my travel. Now I know that sounds super cliche because especially with the internet and social media, everyone's like, travel to go find yourself, or you know, have an eat, pray, love moment, be the main character, all those sort of things. And yes, travel I would say is one of the best purchases that I have made in my 20s. I have traveled with my family and friends and solo, and I realize that sounds very privileged, but I would say travel is one of the best things that you can do in your 20s. There is never going to be a time in your life where you're going to be relatively responsible free, depending on your situation. Now obviously if you have kids or dependents, it'd be a little harder to travel, but I would still recommend traveling, and it doesn't have to be anywhere super extravagant. You don't need to go to like Fiji or Tahiti. You can literally just go travel within your state or your city, and to me that still counts in a way because you're getting out and exploring. But I will say that traveling is definitely one of the best investments I have made in myself. It has taught me a lot, and I learned many things that I would have not learned from my classes in college or high school, etc. And also, like, it's fun. I mean, you get to learn so much, try new foods, and it's definitely more immersive just being in like a different place, and it forces you to be outside your comfort zone, which is something I always say that you should try to do as much as you can when you're young. Because once you get older, you're less likely to take risks and be wanting to go into situations where it's more unknown because you're comfortable. And when you're young in your 20s, you can definitely tolerate more uncomfortable traveling situations, such as In your 20s, you're more likely okay sleeping in a dorm hostel with a bunch of people, versus if you're in your 50s, that may not be your cup of tea. I also plan to do more travel content since I am, I guess, well-traveled. At least that's what my family and friends say. They say I'm like the most well-traveled person they know. But I still have a lot of places that I want to go to, so I hope to document them, put it on YouTube this time. So if that interests you, you should definitely subscribe, because I do plan to post that here when it's safe to do so and to do traveling. The third best purchase of my 20s is, as cliche as it sounds, my education. Now, I personally graduated with a bachelor's from university, but I think you don't need to go to an impressive or fancy college or university for your education. There's so many free resources on the internet now that weren't available for previous generations. So I would say you should definitely take advantage of that and learn as much as you can for as cheaply as possible, because even though you finish your high school years or you graduate college, to me, learning doesn't stop there. It continues. You don't want to be like those people that just your brain turns to mush after you finish high school or college or whatever. You should always keep learning, and I always make an effort to learn either new skills or new information, because I think that's what makes life interesting, is if you're constantly learning. Because when you learn, your brain is working, and it also helps to, I feel like it does keep you young if you're like learning and experiencing new things, because I feel like once you're in more of a set routine, time just flies by. And the next thing you know, you're like way older and you're wondering where the time went. So to me, learning and investing in your education is one of those ways where time slows down, but in a good way. And the fourth purchase I made in my 20s that is 100% worth it is my digital SLR. This is a Canon 5D Mark III. I bought this in my early 20s and I still use it to this day. Photography has been a hobby of mine since high school, and since I also like to travel, it kind of goes hand in hand. And also doing YouTube, you need a camera obviously to film YouTube videos. So to me, investing in a camera is a great purchase in your 20s, because you can use it not only for like creative projects, but also like with your friends or when you go on trips, you can have nice photos to remember. And also the accessories that go along with a camera, like for example, the tripod I am using to record this video is a tripod that I also bought in my early 20s, and I still use it to this day. It's made out of carbon fiber, so it's really lightweight, and it folds down to a really small size, so it's great for traveling. So in general, to me, my camera will always be considered one of the best investments I made in my 20s, because it has gotten so much use. I remember when I bought this camera, some of my friends were like, "Why you spend so much on this camera?" Well, I'm still using it till this day, so I would say it's a good investment, and it takes nice photos that I would keep forever, versus if I bought like a cheap camera that breaks and I have to replace it every few years. To me, that's not worth it and like a waste of time and money, since you have to go research a new camera and then you have to go out and buy it. So to me, investing in a really good camera is something that you can use for years to come and not feel the need to upgrade like every year like a phone. The fifth best purchase I made in my 20s is not really a purchase, but it's just my investments. Now I never personally made a high salary in my 20s, so to me, investments is a good way to keep up with inflation, and also it's a way to generate passive income so that you won't have to be physically working somewhere to generate income. So that can be anywhere from dividends or capital gains in the stock market. So I was fortunate enough to start investing in my early 20s, and I would say it has paid off despite me not making a high salary and having to pay for all my living expenses. And also the art compound interest, the earlier you invest your money in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, etc., the longer you have for it to gain money and also to weather risk and economic downturns. So to me, the biggest thing I would say is that if you're in your 20s, you should definitely open a Roth IRA, deposit $6,000 of earned income, and if your work offers a 401k, you should try to either at least meet the match if there is a company match, or you should max it out if you're able to. I think that it's really important to be financially secure as an adult, because as anyone knows, like especially with last year and how the economy shut down and everything, you don't really want to rely on one stream of income to survive. It is really handy to have a nice emergency fund and also just to have backup sources of income. So for me, that usually would start with one regular job, and eventually you can invest enough money to where even if you lost your job, you still have some income coming in to carry you over until you can get another job. So to me, investing is really important, and it's not just for retirement, it's also just to hedge against risk if something were to happen and you cannot work. So my 6th best purchase of my 20s is my Kindle. I like to read books, like physical books, but unfortunately I live in a very small studio apartment, so I don't really have room to buy a bunch of books. And also the library, at least in Hawaii, they don't open super late, so it's hard for me to go back and forth to a library to pick up, look for books, drop off. So the Kindle is a lifesaver because since I have a public library card through the state of Hawaii, I'm able to check out books, ebooks, and have them sent directly to my Kindle. And this has been especially helpful during the pandemic when the library was closed. So I would highly recommend the Kindle. Even during non-pandemic times when the library is open and stuff, the Kindle is really handy if you travel and you don't have like an iPad or you don't want to stare at your phone all day. Kindle is the way to go to get your reading in. And I personally find reading on a Kindle easier than reading on an iPad because the screen on the Kindle is a lot easier on your eyes. And the 7th best purchase of my 20s is obviously my Fjallraven Kanken laptop 13-inch model. If you haven't checked out my review on this, I will leave a link in the description box down below. But yeah, this is obvious. I mean, I've had this for 10 years and I still use it. It works well. Unfortunately, I haven't had time to put patches on it, like I said, but I will hopefully get to it soon. But yes, highly recommend this. Link in the description if you want to watch my review on it where I go into more detail. But yeah, I use this in college and traveling and it still serves me well. So 10 out of 10, recommend this. The 8th best purchase I made in my 20s is a good pair of headphones. Now, I'm a big music junkie. Like many people, I listen to a huge range of music genres and artists. On my Spotify alone, I have reached over 50,000 music hours of listening. So to me, headphones are pretty essential. So not only is it handy when you're studying and you have roommates, so you don't want to have speakers, to disturb your roommates. It's also handy when you travel and you want to just listen to music and have it sound really nice. So for me, I have these Master and Dynamic headphones that I've had for many years and I still use these. So depending on what kind of music you listen to will depend probably on what headphones you would buy, but for me, just a nice pair of headphones over the ear, you can't go wrong and they last a long time. So highly recommend buying a nice pair of headphones. You won't regret it. And trust me, once you have a nice pair of headphones, it's really hard to go back to earbuds. I still use earbuds, don't get me wrong, because there are certain situations where over-the-ear headphones aren't practical, but for at-home listening, or if you're studying, or if you just want to tune out the world, you can't go wrong with over-the-ear headphones. The 9th best purchase I made in my 20s is my jewelry collection. Now I know some people are probably like, jewelry? Why jewelry? To me, jewelry is one of the easiest ways to make your outfits a little bit more spicy. And if you invest in the right type of jewelry, such as jewelry made out of sterling silver or 14 karat gold or even platinum, your jewelry will last for years to come. So the jewelry pieces you buy in your 20s can easily last you into your old age. So jewelry is a great investment as long as you buy stuff that you know you will like for many years to come. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the stereotypical classic pieces such as diamond studs or gold hoops. It can just be whatever you like that you know you will like for years to come. So jewelry is a great investment in your 20s, and it's always nice to build a little jewelry collection, so in case you ever have kids, you can pass down your jewelry. And if you don't wear jewelry, a watch is a nice thing that you can invest in or buy in your 20s and keep for many, many years, because watches don't really go out of style, and it looks nice to wear a watch instead of looking at your phone to keep track of time. And the final best purchase made in my 20s is my Birkenstocks. Now, I bought these Birkenstocks when I went to Germany, so I was able to get a good price for them, as in they were cheaper in Germany than buying it in America, so I saved money. And my Birkenstocks are really old. They're around, I think, over 7 years old now. I also have a backup pair that I haven't used yet, and I'm just waiting for the right time to toss my old ones and use my new ones. But Birkenstocks are super comfortable, they last, and they're way more supportive than other types of sandals. So I wear my Birkenstocks pretty much anywhere that I can wear Birkenstocks. Obviously, I'm not gonna wear my Birkenstocks hiking sort of thing, but I do wear my Birkenstocks very often. And one story I have to tell you is that one time I was in Nordstrom, and there was a new pair of Birkenstocks on display, and I was walking around, and these two ladies commented, "Oh, Birkenstocks," and then they look at my feet and see how worn mine were, and they're like, "Oh, so that's how it looks like when they're really worn." But to me, I think it's awesome that they're worn, because I got a lot of use out of it. I'm pretty sure my cost per wear is in like the point something penny, because I wear them that much. So to me, Birkenstocks are easily one of my best purchases made in my 20s. So that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I just really wanted to share what my best purchases were in my 20s. So if you like this type of video, please like and subscribe, and comment below on what your best purchase was in your 20s. Or if you're not in your 20s, just comment on what your best purchase was in your lifetime so far. So thanks again, and see you guys next time. Bye.